The Leaders Coach podcast is about connecting leaders to an identity that will help transform their leadership by engaging in conversations that lead to opportunities for growth, authenticity, and vulnerability. As we're unlocked, we simultaneously empower others to live and lead unique and authentic lives. Let's go deeper. Welcome to the Leaders Coach podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Leaders Coach with Dr. Shanita Brown. You guys are in for a treat this episode. I know I say that on all of my episodes, but I know you guys are you have really been enjoying these episodes. You've really been enjoying these conversations. I've been receiving a lot of comments, a lot of people engaging in what it is that we're talking about. You guys know me here at the Leaders Coach. I talk about leading yourself, right? And your thinking, your feeling, and your choosing. We don't talk about leading from perfection because we're all learning and we're all growing and we're all trying to be a better version of ourselves, right? And so you guys can engage with us. You can follow us and be a part of this movement. You guys can catch up with us by going to the Leaders Coach podcast.com, the leaderscoachpodcast.com. There you will see all of our episodes from season 1 up until now, and from there you are able to find your favorite streaming platform that you would love to hear our show on. We are on all streaming platforms, so make sure you check us out there. You guys can email us at leaderscoach@shanitabrown.com. You may have a question that you want to ask, and you may say, hey, Dr. Brown, I got this question. You know what? Join us by going to leaderscoachpodcast.com, and you scroll down on that homepage, and right there you'll be able to click a purple button, and it says leave a message, and we definitely want to hear what your message is. But this guest that we have today is Dr. Sheba Wilburn. She is a phenomenal woman of God. We met at Regent University going through our doctoral program together. And so ever since then we've connected and we've been connected. And so I knew when I thought about this episode, I thought about her. She was in mind as we get ready to tackle, and as she teaches us more about intentional listening, as she teaches us how to foster respect and clarity, as she teaches us the importance of tone and words, as she tells me a lot of times when her and I are talking on the phone, your words create worlds, and how the power of your words and your tone shapes organizations and individual perceptions. So you guys are in for a treat. Make sure you guys stay locked in, stay tuned in. If you enjoy this episode, please make sure you let us know by commenting on our Spotify, by sending us a DM at the Leaders Coach Pod. That's on our Instagram, the Leaders Coach Pod. Or you guys can follow me on my personal social media page, Dr. Shanita _Brown. That's on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You guys are in for a treat. This season has been off the chain. I don't even know if they say off the chain anymore. So I'm older, so now I got to see what the young kids say, but I'm excited about this guest today. If you've been keeping up with us this season, you know that we've been talking about self-awareness. We've been talking about looking at different angles of self-awareness, and I know you've been blessed. I know something that we've said has really touched you, and so we're going higher and higher. I keep telling you guys, we're just going higher and higher and just doing greater and bigger things. And so I'm going to go ahead and get this conversation started. But you already know, you guys can hit us up on the leaderscoachpodcast.com. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at the Leaders Coach Pod. Also, you guys can follow me on my personal Instagram is Dr. _Shanita Brown, right? Because there's another Dr. Shanita Brown out there too. I think she kind of impersonated me, but we ain't gonna even talk about that right now. Hopefully she is aware, see how that self-awareness is. But we're gonna go ahead and just jump into this episode today. Guys, I got an incredible a woman of God that is on this show, and not just a woman of God, but just an incredible person. We happened to meet. We met a few years ago. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. During our doctoral program, we went through the same doctoral program, getting our doctor in strategic leadership, and we connected, and we've just been connected to the hip every since. Let me introduce to the world Dr. Sheba Wilburn. Dr. Sheba Wilburn is a strategic leadership expert with more than 20 years of experience, including a decade dedicated to transforming corporate and government executives. As CEO of Queen of the South Coaching and Consulting, she bridges leadership gaps, enhances performance, and drives sustainable cultural change. With over 1,500 coaching hours and a proven track record of empowering more than 200 clients, Dr. Wilburn equips leaders to navigate change, build high-performing teams, and elevate their executive presence through executive coaching, strategic consulting, training, and organizational development. A certified Scrum Master, she integrates agile methodologies, applied neuroscience, and cultural humility to help clients overcome limiting beliefs, shift mindsets, and achieve lasting behavior transformation. She is also the author of Never Settle, Transforming the Leader in You. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for none other than the one and only Dr. Sheba Wilburn. How you doing, Dr. Wilburn?
Hi, Dr. Brown. I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm telling you, it's a joy to have you here. You know, she travels the world. She does all types of stuff, and she just had the time to stop by my show today, and I'm super excited to have her on. And like I was telling the people, we met through our doctoral program at Regent University, and ever since then we just connected, and we just been there, and I'm just grateful for the relationship and meeting you and getting and knowing you, right, and knowing you and everything that you carry and what you have. And so again, welcome to the Leaders Coach podcast. So Dr. Wilburn, Quick thing, something that I do with my guests is something new that I've started, and it's a segment that I have on my show called What Inspired You? And so I would love to ask you that same question. What has inspired you, be it something this week, something you saw on TV, something last year? We would love to hear and share. We would love for you to share what that thing is.
Yeah, I think if I would have to sum that up, I would use one word, and that would be freedom. Freedom to be my authentic self, freedom to make money, freedom to work from any place in the world, just not being bound by man's limitations on me. Yeah. That's inspiring for me.
Wow, that's good. We can go into that, but we got to stay on topic because it's a lot of things I want to explore. It's that freedom. I know that's important. So, we're going to go ahead and move on with that. And today, Dr. Wilburn, she's on because, again, we're talking about awareness, and we're going to really be talking about how you sound and what you communicate to others, how that matters, and how words shape worlds, right? How words shape worlds. And as leaders, it is important. We have a responsibility of what we say because it carries weight. And not only does it carry weight, but it shapes and forms our cultures and visions and different things like that. And Dr. Wilburn, with that being said, help us let's just set this foundation, right? And the foundation I would like to set will be, let's explore why words matter so much. And yeah, let's start there. Why do words matter so much? And then we're going to segue into understanding in what ways do they create worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so words matter so much because words are containers. They carry faith or fear. They carry life or death.
Yeah.
They carry hurt or healing. And so that's foundational for me because Hebrews 11:3 talks about how faith creates worlds. Mm-hmm. It says that by faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. So our words give us the power to create worlds.
Wow, that's powerful. Even right there, when you just mentioned like just our words, because even the Bible talks about how life and death is in the power of the tongue, just the things that not necessarily that we speak things into existence, but the fact of that we can hurt people with our tongues. We can the way we communicate, because there's so many different types of communication. You have your body language, you have the words that you speak, and sometimes as leaders, those two things are not in alignment. And so understanding that everything that we do need to make sure that it connects with what it is that we're communicating. And so with that being said, Dr. Wilburn, how does a leader's tone shape the emotional environment of a room, maybe a team or an organization or a company? How does a leader's tone shape that emotional environment?
Sure. And I want to like piggyback a little bit off the words, because growing up, we were taught sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt. And then over time, we learned that that just absolutely wasn't true, right? Words really matter. And so when we talk about tone, right? I'm so sorry. I lost my train of thought. Can you repeat that?
All right. So cool. So I'll just start over with that question and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I got you.
Sorry.
No, okay. You good. This is what we do. All right. So 3, 2, I got to do my countdown. So 1. All right. So Dr. Wilburn, with that being said, how does a leader's tone shape in the emotional environment of a room or of a team, of an organization, of a culture at that?
Yeah. So just going back a little bit to words and the importance of words, just growing up, we were taught that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt. And what we learned is that is emphatically not true. Words do matter. And so how does a leader's tone shape the environment? Or, you know, tone regulates the room.
Yeah.
So a calm, empathetic voice, it really expands thinking. So on the flip side of that, if you have someone with a sharp tone, it can narrow the person's thinking that's receiving the tone because it shuts them down.
So as leaders, right? I know me, I'm very direct. This is my tone. How can we, because we're leading so many different personalities, so many different communication styles. So how can we as leaders be aware of the tone that's needed for that particular moment? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great question that you asked. And I think if we don't remember anything else, the most important thing to remember in communication is making the person on the other side of the conversation feel safe. So safety is the number one thing. And so we want, when you think about tone, people respond to tone before they process what is being said.
That's good.
So tone communicates, am I in a safe environment? Is this a safe space? It communicates urgency. How urgent is this? It communicates respect. And then it also communicates, is there a threat? And so tone does a lot.
Yeah.
And so,
No, that's good. I like that because it makes sense. It was a pastor that told me years ago. He said, you don't want to lose the message in the delivery. And so I think even when we as leaders are leading, that is very important. I was listening to something a few weeks ago and they were talking about the importance of tone, time, and tact when you're having conversations, right? Like you were speaking about that tone. And is this the right timing? And make sure you're being tactful in what it is that you're communicating. And so now, Dr. Wilburn, I work with these young kids. They everything is sensitive to them. You say you sneeze too loud, they But so how as leaders, how can, because again, you want people to feel safe, as you mentioned. You want people to, because how your tone is, it should create a space of safety. But what if you're dealing with sensitive people or sensitive people, that everything's just so sensitive to them, and creating still a safe space, but still making sure that things are still being done and what you're saying is still being heard, because we still have a job to do at the end of the day. So what do you say to leaders who do deal with sensitive people? Because we have so many different people in the workplace now. So you have those boomers that you can just tell them what to do and they do it. You have those Gen Xers where, it's a different. You have millennials like myself, and then you have these little Gen Zers. Everything you say is, so how can you help a leader be able to still navigate that when they're dealing with all of these different generations of people, of how they receive communication? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I'll never forget when I was in college, and my bishop at the college that I went to, he said, when we're having a conversation, there are three important things that must be true at all times. And shout out to my bishop, Bishop Lloyd E. Gwynn.
Shout out.
Is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind and constructive? So all of these things must be true before you make the delivery. And this doesn't matter what generation is, right? So whatever it is we're getting ready to communicate, is it a true? Is this necessary? So that goes back to the timing piece of things you said. Like, is this something we need to address right now? Is it necessary for us to address this right now? Yeah. And if so, let's move forward. If not, let's scale back a bit. And then is what we're delivering, are we delivering in a manner that is kind? And we talk about constructive criticism, right? But it should be more of constructive feedback.
Yeah. That's good. See, that's why you the doctor. I'm telling you, that is why she is the doctor. Her book, Never Settle. What is it? Never Settle.
Transforming the leader in you.
There you go. Never settling, because as leaders, right, we are constantly growing, and these are things that we need to continue to do, because I believe that as the people that we lead, as they are following us, I believe that leadership is transcendent. Like, they'll begin to say, oh man, Dr. Wilburn, Dr. Brown, they are doing it like this. And so now I believe that invites them into, how can I use words, right, to shape my world. And so a question that I do have is, not only just us communicating, us meaning leaders communicating to those that we lead, or communicating things, but the question would be, why is listening such a critical leadership skill? Because it's just not about talking, right? It's also about listening. And then how does that influence the way that we speak as leaders?
Yeah, that's a powerful question. And as a coach, I know firsthand how important it is to listen. Listening to someone when they're speaking, it signals respect. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and you're saying to them, are you even listening to me? Mm-hmm. So another thing with that is, so when you listen to the person, they feel respected, they feel heard. Mm-hmm. Also, listening slows assumptions and it increases precision, right? Because we're not assuming what the person is saying. You're going to back up and say, hey, let me clarify that. So for clarity, is this what you're saying? Yeah. So you're making sure you understand that. And I think about James 1:19, because that scripture says, be slow to listen. Be quick to listen, and slow to speak. Yeah. And I think when we do it the other way around, we're in error in every conversation that we're in. Because listening is such a critical skill, and it does influence how we speak.
Yeah, no, that's good. Because it's a saying that says, and Maya Angelou, she might have said it, that people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And I think listening is an important part of leadership, because it helps people to know, like, man, this person really cares for me. They really care about me. And how they communicate what they're trying to say to me is important, because they know, my personality. They understand me a little bit more. So I really like what you said, just that listening piece. So how can we encourage leaders that may have a hard time? Because you have different types of leaders. They may just have that difficult time, because especially in fast-paced worlds, if you're in corporate, wherever you may be, and it's like, hey, I don't just have time just to sit down and just listen to you. Do you have a quick step or something where leaders can just even if it's a 1 minute, just sit and listen, something they can start practicing to where when they are leading these people, especially when it comes down to the communication piece, that they can implement real quickly.
Yeah. Well, listening is a very powerful strategic skill,
Yeah.
because when we listen appropriately, it shows us what direction to go next with the conversation or with our response. And so being intentional about listening is definitely the first step. You have to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And then put yourself in the other person's shoes. How would you feel if you're speaking and someone isn't listening to you? And when we think about listening, think about when you're listening to things when you have no business listening to them, right?
Yeah.
What are you listening for, right? You're not just juicy gossip, but what information is this feeding me? What am I learning from this? What could I do differently? It's the same thing when we're intentionally listening, because otherwise we are making assumptions, and that's just point blank.
Wow. And so I like that, just intentionally listening instead of making those assumptions. And so I think, just to add on to what you were saying, if we as leaders don't always want to assume, be intentional about listening, because it's just the opposite thing. So thank you for sharing it, Dr. Wilburn. I think that was deep, because even when you were talking about what are you listening to, I thought about music, right? If I want to feel sad, sometimes I may listen to music that's sad, or music that's just to feed that thing. What am I communicating, right? What am I allowing myself to hear and to listen? And as a result, communicating that. And so with that being said, Dr. Wilburn, let's piggyback on that, about just more of the importance of what we listen to as leaders, how we're training ourselves as leaders, because what we're listening to, sometimes we can communicate that to those that we're leading, those that are following us. And so how can we tune our ear in order to listen to the things that we need to listen? So therefore, we're creating those words that create these worlds that will be effective in the areas that we serve. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely say, in order to tune your ear, first ask yourself, what is the outcome I want this conversation to produce?
Yeah.
And so in doing that, it allows you, again, going back to that intent listening, to, again, steer the conversation through your listening, and then jotting notes down, right? Oh, okay, this person said that while they're talking. Because sometimes we overtalk one another, right? I know we did that in my family growing up with some people in the family. And so you're just being intentional and holding that respect in the conversation.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And I like that, because that's something I wanted to start doing, is like taking notes while people are talking. But then it goes back to what we said earlier. Do we think, are we tuned in? Are we listening to the person, or we're just trying to think about what we're going to say next? So how does that still play a part in just that critical listening?
Yeah. So what we want to make sure we're doing is we're listening to understand what the person is saying and not listening to respond.
That's good.
So the conversation isn't as much about us as it is about the person that we're talking to.
Good.
So we want to make sure that they feel heard. We want to make sure that they are able to get their point across, and we want to kind of ping pong the conversation back and forth to say, okay, this is what I hear you saying.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Again, so we're taking all of the conversation. We want to dismiss assumption. That's the biggest misconception and miscommunication in conversation, is assumption.
Yeah. No, that's so true. That is so true. And that's why it's important just to talk, not assume, because you get so much further. And it's a lot of misunderstanding too, because of those things. And so with that being said, can you share a moment when your tone, speaking about Dr. Wilburn, right, your tone either built trust or unintentionally damaged it? And tell us about those times, and then what did you learn from that?
Yeah. So I tend to get this right in leadership with my clients and colleagues. but I'm still a work in progress with my family and friends.
Yeah.
But one important thing, or thing that I've done in the past, maybe having that accusatory tone. Something may be true, right? And it could also be a fact. But I might have communicated with my tone and saying it with my chest, like, why did you do such and such and such and such?
Mm-hmm.
And right there, it shuts down the communication, because now the person can't even receive what you're trying to say. And so that accusatory tone is so important to go in with a question and more empathetic and say, I noticed this, and I wanted to ask you about perhaps what were you thinking when this happened? What was your thought process? And how could we move forward from here? Just creating that place of safety.
Yeah.
What did I learn from that? So for me, as you know me, I'm a very direct person like you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm straightforward, and I'm a very truthful person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think truth always trumps in my mind.
Yeah.
But the way what we say matters, the words and our tone and our nonverbal, like you said earlier, all of the communication styles matter. The biggest thing that I learned is to speak from the heart, but with restraint.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always important to be authentic, but be impeccable with your words.
Yeah.
And so speak truthfully, with intention. Don't weaponize your words,
mm-hmm.
because a lot of us will do that in an argument. So don't do that. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah.
That's also when you tell someone that you're going to do something. Be a person of your word. And that's something that we were taught growing up, right? And then say it with the right spirit and tone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would just echo, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it constructive?
Yeah. No, that's good. I think that's really good advice for us meaning leaders, to be able to deal with different people and what's going on in our worlds, and also what's going on in just within ourselves, right? Just that intentionality and removing those assumptions and different things like that. Just that intentionality. I really like that piece of being intentional. So what could be just something simple that maybe you practice, right? Just something simple to where leaders can start learning, or let me say, being more conscious. Let's say that, being conscious, because sometimes I don't think it's a skill. Sometimes we just got to be conscious of it, right? So just being conscious of being intentional. So what's something that you feel, probably just something real quick, a simple practice that you can recommend leaders, something real simple to where they can start being conscious of being intentional?
Yeah. So do you mean like being intentional with their words, or what do you?
Yeah. So since we're talking about communication, being intentional with their words, how they're communicating, with their tone. So all of the things, but if you have a specific thing that we can hone in on, that's fine as well.
Yeah. I would definitely say, again, I know we talked about this earlier, like listening to understand, but just let's just lead with love. That's the first thing,
That's
right?
good. Yeah.
Lead with love. And I think I try to approach every conversation with that. And I also know that what I'm feeling inside may not be delivered right. So one of the things a dear friend taught me, shout out to Sharonda Williams, but when she used to mentor me as a little girl, she's like a big sister to me. She used to say to me, or as a young college student, Holy Spirit, give me what to say, when to say it, and how to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's something like, so what you're doing is you're actually really thinking about what you're getting ready to say before you actually say it. You're contemplating what you're going to say, and you're not just blurting things out.
Yeah.
So you're being proactive rather than being reactive.
I like that. And again, that just goes back to, I like that. Just being intentional. Just, hey, how can I say this? And it's okay as leaders just to take a moment to process what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it. And so I like that idea. Like, I remember growing up and hearing the same thing, like, Holy Spirit, tell me what to say, how to say it, when to say it. And for a while, I stopped saying that because I started getting in my own way. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. So what we're going to do.
But it's so important, though, right?
Yeah, it's very important. And sometimes, because the reality of it is, we lose sight sometimes as leaders. We're dealing with day-to-day pressures. We're dealing with our own stuff. And sometimes it gets difficult to just have these intentional times. But I think what we're trying to relay here is, if you're just aware, right? If you're just aware and practicing these things, not just with the people you lead, practice it with your family, with your friends, with the people when you go out to eat, just being, there was a bad waiter today. How do I want to let the manager know that this waiter did not give me good service, right? So, and it becomes a part of you. So it won't feel like it's so difficult. Like, I just have to do this. No, it now becomes a part of you and how you lead. And so with that being said, now, this is a big one. I know I'm a whole lot better with this, but it was times I still struggle because we are still human, child. Lord help me. Sometimes when it's pressure or it's conflict and I need to communicate something, Dr. Wilburn, I'm not thinking about, let me let this land soft. We have goals to meet. The higher ups are coming down on us. It's a lot of pressure. And Johnny, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And this is a pressure moment. So it's not necessarily that Johnny is always like, this is just a pressure moment. And something I say to Johnny from a place of pressure may not relay what I would like for it to relay. And so I hurt Johnny's feelings. So as a leader, because I didn't, in my accountability, I didn't like the way I communicated to him, because we're going to have these moments. We're not always have these good moments. How can I go to Johnny as a leader, because we're still talking about communication, and apologize and let him know, hey, this was just a moment of this and that. How can I correct it as a leader?
Yeah. And we know the most simplest thing to do is say, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But I think I would dive deeper, because one of the things you said, we all communicate differently, and what might hurt your feelings may not hurt my feelings.
Correct.
Like for me, people's actions hurt my feelings more than words do. Mm-hmm. So what I would say to Johnny is, Johnny, I noticed that your disposition changed when I said or did A, B, and C. What are your thoughts about the exchange of our conversation? Where did the conversation kind of take a turn? And did I offend you?
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, I would get the confirmation, like, did I offend you? And then if Johnny says yes, well, where did I hurt your feelings? Or where did I go wrong? Or something. And then when we're going back to that listening to understand, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. Not just say again what we want to say. And once Johnny says, well, Dr. Brown, it sounded like you yelled at me. And then you say, okay, well, I didn't mean to yell. I'm a passionate person, but I understand how that makes you feel, and I apologize. So kind of, again, that coaching, like, really asking powerful questions to really get into the understanding of how this made Johnny feel, what made him shut down. And then even asking Johnny, how could I offer feedback going forward in the future?
Yeah, no, that's good. And I wanted to make sure we do that, because again, we're human. Everybody's not going to get everything right perfectly, but just going back and trying to go back for that understanding and not assumption. So now Johnny comes to work and is like, oh, what has changed? And so you're asking these questions so everybody can get back on the same page, because at the end of the day, as leaders, we still have a goal to reach, and we're still responsible for making sure everybody's in alignment to make sure that we're reaching that goal. And so Dr. Wilburn, this is what she does. So tell us a little bit more about Queen of the South and how how with the consulting and the coaching, how you actually do this in real time, and then after you let us know that, just sum up the conversation of what you really wanted to just to kind of hone in on with this topic.
Yeah. So I'm an executive coach. And so Queen of the South Coaching and Consulting is a leadership development firm. I help executives and leaders confidently navigate change, build high-performing teams, and elevate their presence through coaching and strategic leadership solutions. And so I'm all about people over processes.
Yeah.
Because if you're building up people, they'll be more than happy to follow the processes and the procedures. We live in a world now where this society don't value people as much as they do the AI, the processes, the systems. But again, people make the world go round.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's important that we build people up with our words. Words are seeds. And we see some people have been successful from those seeds that were planted in them, even as a little child. And some have been less successful because of the words that were spoken over them that were like word curses. And so I think the biggest thing that I would like to have the audience take away is just really think about what you're saying to people when you're communicating. Not just with your words, but with your actions, with your body language, because, and I think the biggest common denominator for me that really gets me with communication, I don't like dismissive people.
Yeah.
And it's a sign of disrespect for me. And I notice like it's so many ways to be dismissive. So you can be dismissive in your words of how you respond, but you can also be dismissive with your body language and what you don't say.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be dismissive by your actions. So it's just important when we're communicating that we're communicating in love. We're handling people with care the way that we would want someone to handle us. We can understand that people may not be fragile, but they do need to be handled with care. And so we know that communication encompasses so many elements, right? But when we're talking about the words and our nonverbal, our tone, our body language, just making sure that we're connecting with the person and not being dismissive.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. And again, it goes back to what you said earlier. It takes intentionality, and as leaders, you know, it's heavy as the crown that wears the head, and it's we have a responsibility wherever you're leading. And I want to say something from what you said about just with the body language and just being dismissive. And it's a quote by Martin Luther King Jr. He says, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." And so even the silence of if we're having a conversation and just your silence of being dismissive. I've talked to a lot of people, and you're talking to them there, or if they're not saying, they're not being on the right side of what's right behind closed doors. Oh yeah, I got you. They were wrong. But then when we're having these meetings, these conversations, it's the silence of our friend, and that's communicating maybe the value or our relationship or whatever it could be communicating. So we want to make sure that our yes is yes and our no is no. Our yes is yes in our actions, in what we say, how we speak, how we move, and our tone. All of that has to be in alignment in order for things to be clear and have clarity and not be confusing. And so thank you, Dr. Wilburn, again, for being on the Leaders Coach. We really appreciate your wisdom, your insight on this topic, just around how you sound and what you communicate matters, from your tone to your words and the way you listen, and just your understanding. A very, very important part. So if someone wants to connect with you, Dr. Wilburn, how can they connect with you? They may say, hey, we need Dr. Wilburn to come to our organization. We need a coach. How can they connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn under Dr. Sheba L. Wilburn. I am also on Instagram. Sheba L. Wilburn is my handle. You can also find me. Everything is on LinkedIn. If you click on my Stan store, you can see the link to my website, ShebaWilburn.com. I'm also on Substack, Transform with Dr. Sheba. And yeah, that's pretty much all the ways you can connect with me.
Perfect. Well, you guys make sure y'all connect with Dr. Sheba Wilburn. It's HebaWilburn. Make sure y'all connect with her.
SHEBA.
Yeah. Sorry, SHEBA. Yes. See, that's the critical list. She said how she was listening. Sheba Wilburn. Make sure you guys connect with her. Phenomenal lady. I mean, she works with government. She does a whole lot. So connect with her and bring her out to what it is that you're doing. But as always, y'all stay up, stay blessed. Y'all know this has been the Leaders Coach with Dr. Shanita Brown. As always, it's been phenomenal. Tell somebody about the Leaders Coach. Until next episode, peace. This has been the Leaders Coach podcast with Dr. Shanita Brown.